Hi, morning everybody, it's Nick. I wanted to vlog today on the menopause. So it's nearly 3 years now since, well, I was about to say I entered my challenging menopause, but the reality is it's 3 years since the symptoms got so bad. I really couldn't manage it anymore. And I was blessed enough to have a very open-minded GP and find a consultant. I do see a private consultant. I know a lot of you already know this, but just for those who are watching first time. So I don't really know when it started, but I know it was 3 years ago when it just got to the point where I just wasn't functioning anymore in life. I was just pretty much laid in bed all day. And I've had a really bad couple of days, and I've vlogged actually about what that means from a mental health perspective, how it's made me feel. And it was only late last night when I started to join the dots. And I think this is really, really important for anybody going through the menopause, because I think sometimes it's difficult to join those dots. And it's only because I see a consultant who's really proactive in helping me do that I was able to do that. Now it doesn't all of a sudden make a magic wand. I think the point I want to make in this vlog is what a fine balancing act it is, and that the menopause is it's alive and it lives with you and it moves with you and it has cycles. And sometimes we have to just surrender to those cycles. I think is the only way I can describe it. So a little bit of context is that part of my treatment plan is I am insulin resistant. And what that means is that, so insulin is our largest hormone. And the way I think about it is, insulin is a bit like the child, and the estrogen is a bit like the parent that keeps it in check. So I've probably been insulin resistant for the whole of my life. It can be a genetic thing. It doesn't mean I'm a diabetic. So my understanding is that diabetics are insulin resistant generally, but insulin resistant people aren't necessarily diabetics. That's the way it works. So as I went into my menopause, my estrogen in particular and my testosterone actually really dropped off a cliff. My body stopped. It just ran out of natural supplies very, very quickly. And actually very, very early. I was only about, how old am I? 50 this year. So I was about 46, 47 when that happened. So what that meant was my treatment plan has always been to control the insulin, which it can be a bit of a bully, my insulin. Now, a few weeks ago, my consultant and I decided to reduce my insulin resistant medication because I've lost nearly 3 stone actually since treating my insulin resistance. And because I've lost weight, the insulin has not been as prevalent. It's not such a big bully. And therefore, the medication I was taking was actually reducing the insulin, the sugars in my body, to such an extent that I was getting really, really, really severe brain fog. And I actually, when I spoke to my consultant, I was like, oh shit, have I got the onset of dementia here? And what it is that when your brain operates, it calls on sugar very, very, very quickly. It is the immediate thing. And what it meant was that the rate, the call rate that my brain was doing, there wasn't enough sugar there immediately for me. So my brain was like having a delayed reaction. So the result of that was we decided to reduce my insulin resistant medication. And all of this is a bit of trial and error. It's all a bit of trial and error. You know, you have to kind of chew it and see how it goes with your body in order to alleviate the brain fog and try and regain what the new balance is. Because hormones is all about balance. And isn't that an interesting... You know, I was just reading something about pain actually. I think the fact that hormones is all about balance and about the changing balance is a really interesting parallel and analogy for our lives actually. And the book that I'm currently reading, which I do find really, really, really interesting, Belonging, has got a section on pain. And one of the things it does talk about is the fact that with our medical advances, pain has very much become purely and simply about solve it, mend it, make it better, which is fantastic, you know, some of the advances we've made. but it also can detach. The whole premise of the book is about the detachment between our body and our soul. Yeah, so it's got its spiritual origins. But I do have a very combined approach to menopause. One is the physical and the medical approach, and the other is the more spiritual side, because I do think our body's taught to us. And it's interesting that so what's happened over the last couple of days, I felt very, very fragile, very vulnerable, exhausted. I'm not motivated to do anything. I'm very, very weepy. I feel the grief has really reared its head, not just grief over loved ones that I've lost, but grief over all kinds of things in my life, all kinds of decisions I've made, friendships I've lost, or all kinds of things, grief in various different forms. And actually there's a big grief going on about this whole lockdown. There's a real grief about the loss of life as we knew it. And I'm not talking about the sparkly materialistic bits. I'm talking just about the fundamental connection with people. However, I'm getting a little bit off topic, but I think, that resonates in that, as a menopausal woman, we feel all of these things. It is very, very diverse. So I would say I've had 2 very bad days. Yesterday got really bad, and I actually just, towards the latter half of the day, really just retreated to my bedroom. Actually, my eldest son was so lovely. I was doing some stuff and he could just see that I was so frazzled, and just, he could just spot the fact that I was really struggling. And I think that's really healthy. I think it's really healthy that my children understand menopause and the hormones and what stuff's like, because they know that it's not them, and they know this is something somebody feels. And he was absolutely gorgeous. He was like, right, okay, you need to go lay down. I'm going to bring you a cup of tea. You just need to take some space, take a breath, and go and have a rest. And it was gorgeous. And actually all 3 of them came up to my bedroom a couple of hours later and just sat on the bed and chatted to me. So I think it is really healthy that I've shared the menopause with them, because it really gives them a sense of empathy. Back to the point, I'm really going off on one, aren't I? Is that what I have noticed is my estrogens really, really dropped. And the way I know that is because my insulin's through the roof. So yesterday, and it's been building up for a few days, my God, the craving for sugar, it's like, I used to smoke, and it's like wanting a cigarette. It is so acute. And my appetite has gone from 0 to, 15, 0 out of 10 to 15 out of 10. I just cannot stop eating. And normally eating a lot of the stuff I would eat, I would make me feel really rough. And I just wouldn't do it. So what that tells me is that my estrogen has fallen through the floor, which means my insulin is like a young kid with no parent there to create any boundaries for it. And it's just running riot. And so there's a couple of things that's happening. So the insulin's not great, because that's giving me highs and lows, a lot of agitation, eating far too much, and actually eating shit. So I was desperate for a bag of chips last night. So poor old Nick was driving around Europe last night trying to get us fish and chips. And that has resulted, I'm not going to get on the scales until I sort it out. And so what I need to do is I need to go to my plan B that I have agreed with my consultant. So I need to up my estrogen input, because my insulin needs to be brought under control. And I need to play around a little bit with my insulin medication. So we have probably reduced it too much, which we knew might be the case. And what we were doing was reducing it as far as we could, seeing the impact on the brain fog, seeing the impact on the insulin, and then, varying the amounts to see how much we could come back before the brain fog comes in. So today I have increased my insulin meds just a little bit, not too much, just a little bit. And I'm going to increase my estrogen. And I will be able to tell, because my motivation, my exhaustion, my anxiety, and my bone ache, they're all about the estrogen. They're all about the estrogen. And if they start to lift, and it might take a few days, because you do, you do have a lag on estrogen, so you can take it, but it can take a few days to get into your system, which is really why it's really important to find a consistent method of your body accepting estrogen, because not all bodies accept estrogen the same way, because it is not natural. Okay, it is the best they can do, and it mimics our natural estrogen as close as it can, but it doesn't do it all. So for example, estrogen doesn't resolve any sex drive issues. That's really where you probably need to bring, well, my understanding is, I'm not medically qualified, my understanding and my treatment plan is that's where I need to make sure that I'm on top of my testosterone, which is something separate I do. And interestingly, I've just had to change the actual make of testosterone I'm using, because the one I was on, my body just wasn't accepting it, just wasn't interested. And actually there's an Australian company that I've just brought out a special testosterone specifically developed for the use of women in the menopause, because that's been a vastly underrated piece of the menopause. Sadly, we can't get hold of it yet. Certainly not in the NHS. I can buy it privately from one supplier in London, but it's over £100 for a small bottle. So I think I'm probably going to... I've got this other one, this other make that we think might work, so I can get hold of that. So I'm going to wait and see how that is first before I splash out the £100. I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. So what I have to do now is I have to watch 3 things to see how I can get the estrogen and the insulin in balance in order for me to operate at a higher quality of life. One is I have to see what my sugar cravings are doing. And how my appetite is, so I know whether my insulin's being a bit of a bully or it still needs to be brought into check a little bit more. Secondly, I need to check on my anxiety, my exhaustion, my overall feeling of really being down in the dumps. Now, it's a tricky one at the minute, because that just won't disappear overnight, because actually lockdown is really fucking hard. And I was fine for the first 3 or 4 weeks, but this last 10 days, there's no two ways about it. I am really struggling. I am really struggling. I can't really articulate it any more than that. I just think it's hard, and I'm just really hoping that we can have some way out of this soon, because I know it's starting to affect my mental health, and I think also my kids are starting to, as I think most kids are, struggle with the lack of connection. So I need to watch the estrogen side. And the third thing that I've got to watch is my brain fog. And I need to monitor that. So I'm going to write these 3 things down, because they are all interacting with each other. Because there's a triage relationship going on here. Too much insulin medication and my brain fog is going to get really bad. Not enough insulin medication and my blood sugars are going to run riot. Not enough estrogen and my get up and go, my neurons aren't going to fire properly. I'm going to feel pretty shit and take to my bed. And the best way is, it's just wanting to hibernate. Everything's overwhelming. Everything's too much. I am getting so stressed about the pissiest little things you wouldn't believe. And it's a step further than what I would say kind of everyday anxiety is. And so... and I guess, you know, a lot of this is how listening to my body and going, okay, what do I need to change here? Because the thing with the menopause is it's not as simple as going, okay, let's go for a walk in nature and I know I can shift this. I know that will help, but it will be a short-term fix, because the underlying biological issues will still be there, and therefore I will still come back to these symptoms if I do not take a more biologically driven approach to it. So it's a combination of the two, and it is really important to practice self-care and patience with yourself. So I haven't been out for a walk for the last couple of days because I just can't face it. I'm not motivated and I'm too knackered. And you know what? Self-flagellation and beating myself up for it does not help. Taking myself off to bed to have a nap with a book and just giving yourself a break. And while you can ride this storm, try and understand what's happening to you. Try and join the dots, listening to your body. Please keep banging on the door of GPs until, you know, you find one like mine and you get the help that you need. So that is today's update on the menopause, what's happening with me, what I'm doing to cope with it. I hope it gives hope to other people in that there is always a way forward. You know, there's no way around the menopause. You've got to go through it. It's not like this for everybody, right? So, you know, it's a really individual thing. But my goodness, we cannot underestimate the power of hormones. And the really big thing is it's all about balance. And that mirrors itself in life. So there's the biological stuff, but also I think it's massively important to make sure that you're dealing with your psychological needs from a balanced perspective, particularly in this period of lockdown, which is I'm finding it intensely challenging. And if you are too, my goodness, you are not on your own. And maybe we just ought to have some kind of a support group where we actually physically get on Zoom and talk to each other, because it's one thing kind of blogging and posting comments, but I think there's something very different in terms of the energy when you actually start to talk. I hope that's of help. It is a long one. It is a very long one today, but for those people going through the menopause, hopefully it's something you need to hear. For those people that's not, you probably don't need to sit here 15 minutes listening to all of this. Okay, lots of love. Have a good day. Bye.